Hello everybody. I'm going to do a little lesson in not decimal rounding, but just rounding numbers, and it follows the same pattern whether there are decimals or not. But I'll just go over an example and show you how I think your worksheet should look when you hand it in for evaluation. Okay, so the problem here is to round this number 79,037 to the nearest 10. So in order to solve these problems, you need to know the names of each of these columns that the numbers are in. And to do that, on this first page in the overview here at the bottom, there are 5 tabs across here. One is the overview, and there should be some helpful, there are links to Khan Academy, and then in this case, there is a slideshow with some useful information. And then there are some more useful links at many of these are at Khan Academy. And then the usual, this video is on this tab. The worksheet will be a screenshot of the finished product of the tablet. When I get that done, that'll be in there. And then there are some worksheets here, and these worksheets always come with the answer sheet on the second page, so you can practice. And these can either be printed out, or you can just look at them on screen and try to solve them on your own and then check your answers with these. And then the GED formula sheet is always featured on these pages because you can use the GED formula sheet for any of my tests. And it's the same information you will have when if you're taking the GED, when you take the GED. So this is the information that you don't have to memorize that may be useful. And this formula sheet won't always be useful for specific problems, but when you get up to Math 57, TSO 57, which is our top level math, this formula sheet will definitely be useful at that point. But it won't hurt to get used to using it now. So go ahead and familiarize yourself, see what's on there, and make sure you know how to use it in the future. So we'll go back to the overview page where I have the names of the columns of the numbers. So working from left to right, we have the thousands column, then a comma. So if you were thinking of this as money, $1,000, and then the next column is hundreds, and then tens. You got 20, 30, 40, however many tens there are, and then the ones column. And on this side you have tenths, which is like dimes, right? And then pennies, hundredths of a dollar. And then we don't have thousandths of a dollar, but these numbers can go way out to the right, like to infinity. And the numbers on this side can also go out. The columns will go out to infinity. But mainly if you know these 7, the names of these 7 columns, you'll be fine. And for this problem, they are asking us to round to the nearest 10. So we're going to look at the tens column. And the number in the tens column is this 3, okay? Before I get too much further along, there is a slideshow here. You can review how to read decimal numbers. So this is something you should learn eventually. Just read up to the decimal point like a regular number. And then the decimal point itself is always and you should only have one and per number. And that might be a hard habit to break, but we use, like we say, 230, but mathematicians like to just say 230 and then the decimal. So the decimal is always and, so just remember that. And then we're just going to read the number in this on the right of the decimal point the same way you would normally. If it's a 2-digit number, it could be like 21 or 22. And then the unit will be the column of the last number in the number, right? So if it were 22, then it would be 22 hundredths. If there were 3 numbers here, like 3, 4, 5, it would be 345 thousandths. So you're going to need to know the names of these columns in order to read these decimals, and also in order to understand how to round numbers. So you can go through the whole thing. There's just a few slides, and then there's a little test area, and you just keep clicking the slide to see how to read those numbers. And you can practice. And we have flashcards at usually around week 3, or no, week 1. Decimal rounding should be up in week 1. So you can just try, see if you can read all these numbers. Okay, you can see I had a little fun making this slideshow. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. All right, the place value chart. So I'm going to switch views, and I'm going to show you how to work this on my tablet. So we'll see if this will work. Oh wow, I lost my... I'm hoping this is recording still, that you can see this. So what I have you do, we're rounding this number to the nearest tenth. So what I want you to do, and I'm going to change colors so you can see. I draw a line under the number in the column they're talking about. So they're talking about the tens column. So this 3, it's 30, 37, that's in the tens column. So this is 30. We have 3 tens in this column. And when we round, we always look at the number on the immediate right. And so I'm going to draw a little arrow to that number. And the next thing we do is if that number on the immediate right is 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, then this number that we are rounding to is incremented by 1. It goes up by 1, okay? So if 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, then increment by 1. That just means add 1, right? And so that sounds pretty simple, but if this was a 9 and you incremented that by 1, it would become a 10. So then you have to know what to do with you have to carry the 1 over there. But anyway, for now, we're just going to say increment by 1. And then we'll do a couple, I think. If the number is 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, then the number won't change. No change. So there won't be any change in the number that we are concerned about in this column, okay? So keeping that rule in mind, we're going to look at this 3, which is in the tens column, and we're rounding this 37 to the nearest 10. So the number on the immediate right is one of these numbers. It's a 7. So we're going to apply this rule and increment by 1, and we're going to get 79,000 and 0, 4. We're incrementing the 3 by 1, and then that 7 goes away. We're rounding, right? So sometimes you have to fill in a trailing 0 here. So that's what we're doing. We need this 0 as a placeholder. When we round this way, there are no 1s in the 1s column, so we put a 0 there. So 79,040 is how this number rounded to the nearest 10. Okay, let's go. So at WAMAP, you would write in, now this box isn't really here, it's just a picture, but you would write in 79,040 in this box. So why don't we try this more practice sheet and take a look at one of these, and do something that's a little kind of interesting. Let's round this number, 6.02, to the nearest tenth. To the nearest tenth. Now sometimes those are hard to hear, but tenth with a TH on the end. So if we look at our overview, the tenths column is right here, this first column after the decimal. All right, so we'll take a look at that. 6.02, and let's go back to my tablet. And now we're going to reverse, we're going to change back to black. So the number in question is in the tenths column, right? So that's the first one after the decimal. We're going to underline it, and we're going to look at the number on the immediate right, which is a 2. So if we go by this rule, it's 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. There's no change in that number. And then here's another tricky part. The number rounds to 6.0. So we get two pieces of information from this unit. We know which number we're looking at, and we also know how long our answer is going to be. So we're looking at the 0 here, and then we know our answer is going to be, it's going to end in the tenths column. So 6 and 0 tenths, 6.0, 6 and 0 tenths is how you would read this. And this is the correct answer for this. Let's do one more. We can check our answers down here. 6.02 becomes 6.0. Okay, so that's thinking like a mathematician. If you were to write 6.00, technically it's equivalent, but the problem is asking that you round that number to the nearest tenth, which means there shouldn't be anything after that tenth. Shouldn't be nothing should be written there. And the one exception was in the example we just did, where you need a placeholder 0. Okay, so we rounded to the nearest 10, and we needed a placeholder here. Otherwise, this would look like a 4 without this 0 here. So we have to put that in. But when you don't need to do that, then you just leave it off. So think of this tenth as telling us how long our answer has to be, and it tells us what number we're looking at. So this is specifying a level of precision. And this, we may learn about significant digits later, but it has to do with that. So let's do one more. And let's pick one that's kind of interesting. Let's round this to the nearest whole number. All right. Get a little more paper here. Oops. Hey. That's weird. All right. Let me back that up. My tablet was behaving badly. I don't want to draw with my finger. Okay, now I understand why not. All right, so 7.865. Let's do this in a new color. Go with green. 7.865 to the nearest whole number, or to the nearest 1. Okay. You can call that whole number or 1. So it's good to do these practice just to round out your vocabulary. So let's pick another color, and then I'll switch to the tablet view. Okay, so we're going to the nearest whole number, which one of these numbers is the whole number? So the 7 is the whole number, so we're going to underline that. And then we're going to draw an arrow to the number on the immediate right. And this is 8, which is in this first column. Means we're going to increment by 1. So we're going to add a 1 to this 7, and we're going to get 8. And then what are we going to do with the rest of these numbers? Well, remember the rule. This is going to tell us how long our answer should be, right? So 8 is a whole number. So this is our answer. So when you're rounding, this is like, sometimes it's easier to see if you think of money. So if you think this is $7.86, or you round it up and get $7.87, well, how much is that in dollars? It's about $8, right? So we rounded it to 8. So that's a really good strategy to understanding decimal math sometimes, is to turn it into a money problem. Sometimes you have to use your imagination because you have too many decimal places, more than we use in our money. But it may help you to get the correct answer, and that's half of what we're doing, right? The other half is showing how we got that answer. Okay, so there's a few problems for you. I'd like you to really give this worksheet a try. And if you're still struggling, go to the overview page and you can go over this with Salman Khan. And remember, there are other languages available at Khan. If you just click this link, you can study math maybe in your first language if studying math in English is not working out for you. Okay, well, good luck with this. If you have trouble, email me or message me through WAMAP, and we'll try to get through this. All right, oops. I didn't do that on purpose. Let's see. I want to stop now.